one is May, June 2020, and it's paper 4.2. We're going to try and do this question, this entire paper, starting with the first question. So, and let me also check. So the first question states, give the name of the process that occurs when a gas turns into a liquid. What is it called?
Condensation.
Okay, so that one is, that one is condensation. Then the next one is part 2, what occurs when the solid turns into a gas without first forming a liquid. Did we do this paper or not? Do you remember doing this paper or not?
I don't think we did.
Okay. So this one, the second one, occurs when solid turns into a gas without first forming a liquid. So solid directly turning into a gas. What is it?
Sublimation.
Okay, this one is sublimation. Do you know of any compounds that sublimate?
No.
Just 1 second. It has stopped writing. Yes. So this one is, what's happening? So this one is sublimation. Saad, किसी compound का पता है कि which sublimates? Anyone? Saad, are you there? So remember, iodine sublimates. As iodine sublimates, aluminum chloride sublimates. Okay, iodine usually turns directly into gas. As the next one is used to separate a mixture of liquids different boiling points. How do you separate liquids with different boiling points? What is it called?
Fractional distillation.
Okay, this one is fractional. So this one is fractional distillation. Then you have is used to extract aluminium. How is aluminium extracted? What process?
Electrolysis.
Okay, so aluminium is extracted using electrolysis. Okay, reactive metals are always extracted using electrolysis. Is used to separate a mixture of amino acids. How would you do that?
Chromatography.
Okay, this one is chromatography. You can remember inks and biological substances like amino acids are separated using chromatography. And for amino acids, you need locating agents as well because they're colorless. As the next one, the symbol of the elements of period 2 of the periodic table are shown. So this is period 2. Group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and noble gases. For each of the following, give the symbol of an element from period 2 which matches the description, combines with hydrogen to produce ammonia. So which element?
Nitrogen.
Okay, so this is obvious nitrogen. Makes up approximately 21% of clean dry air. Which element?
Oxygen.
Okay, this one is oxygen. Has atoms with only 2 electrons in the outer shell.
Beryllium.
So that's beryllium, group 2. Has atoms with only 7 protons. You have to look at the periodic table for this. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so 7 protons is nitrogen. These 7 proton, nitrogen is 7 protons, yes. As the next one is a monoatomic gas. Which one do you think is a monoatomic gas?
Neon.
Neon, because it's noble gas, it doesn't bond with anything. Is soft metal stored in oil? Which one?
Lithium.
Lithium, it's a group 1 metal. As the next one is about Dorian cross diagram, and they're asking you to draw the Dorian cross diagram of magnesium. So magnesium would lose its outer shell. Okay, this outer shell would be gone. So it's going to be one more circle with 8 electrons in it, and since it loses 2 electrons, so it's going to be plus 2. And then you have fluorine. Fluorine is only capable, it has room for just 1 electron. So fluorine would have room for As I would have room for 1 electron, so it's going to gain 1 electron, it's going to be -1. Which atom needs to be multiplied by a number?
F.
ठीक है, क्या number?
2.
ठीक है, F should be twice. As a next one, what is the formula of magnesium fluoride? वो तो F2 कर दिया, it's Mg. F2, ठीक है. I think previous diagram के अंदर they weren't actually asking for that, but still it doesn't really matter. Magnesium fluoride does not conduct electricity when it is solid. What can be done to solid magnesium fluoride to make it conduct electricity? And you explain why this change is made. And so it's an ionic compound. When do ionic compounds conduct electricity? What needs to be done?
Molten or aqueous state.
ठीक है, so एक तो लिखोगे कि it has to be in molten or aqueous state, and why does it conduct electricity in it? But what's the reason? Aqueous या molten state के अंदर why does it conduct?
Free moving ions.
ठीक है, because the ions can, क्योंकि वरना stuck है solid के अंदर ना, ये negative ion and positive ion they're all stuck together, ठीक है. Molten or aqueous state के अंदर they're freely moving around, free moving ions. They have free moving ions which can carry charge. ठीक है, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
अच्छा ये वाला उसने he's already given you the structural formula, तो बाकी काम आसान है. Single bond over here, single bond over here, और नीचे oxygen के साथ over here there's a double bond, तो 2 electrons each. ठीक है, that's a double bond. So that's your compound COF2. Plus you have to make the missing electrons. ठीक है, each atom must have a total of 8 electrons. The carbon के 8 electrons पूरे. Fluorine should have 8 electrons, so there should be 6 more that need to be drawn. This other fluorine also, there should be 6 more electrons that should be drawn. Oxygen के 8 पूरे करने, there are 4 electrons already, so there should be 4 more. Symbols उसने पता नहीं कौन से कहा था use करने को. Complete the dot and cross diagram to show the electronic arrangement in a molecule of carbon fluoride. throughout मतलब oxygen के जो symbol है ना वो हम change कर लेते हैं. Fully shaded circles कर लेते हैं, just to differentiate its electrons. ठीक है. As a next one, explain using your knowledge of structure and bonding why magnesium fluoride has a high melting point. Why do ionic compounds have high melting point? क्या answer होगा? It's a 2-mark question.
Strong bonds.
ठीक है, लेकिन strong bonds तो covalent molecules में भी होते हैं. मतलब ये COF2 के जो bonds हैं, they're very strong. तो why are ionic compounds stronger? मतलब strong bonds दोनों में. Any idea, Sidra? Any idea, is it? देखो ionic compounds, remember, has उसका जो structure की type है, जैसे NaCl, for example, Na+1 attracts Cl-1, Cl-1 then attracts Na+1 back again. Na+1 then attracts Cl-1, so it forms a giant ionic lattice. उसके अंदर every atom ion is, what's happening? अच्छा, उसके अंदर every ion is bonded to another ion with strong ionic bonds. अच्छा, तो इसका मतलब है कि you would have to, but it's every ion would be bonded to every other ion, so you would have to give it a lot of energy क्योंकि it's a giant ionic lattice, ठीक है, with strong ionic bonds, so large amounts of energy are needed. Energy are, तो खाली strong bonds important नहीं है, are needed to break those ionic bonds. Is it clear है Saad? Clear है Sidra?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
अच्छा, so large amounts of energy are needed क्योंकि giant ionic lattice है। क्योंकि अगले में वो पूछ रहा है कि carbon fluoride has a low melting point, तो इसके भी strong bonds है। अब इसका क्या आंसर होगा? Why does this have low melting points even though it has very strong bonds? क्या लिखोगे?
It
Yes,
has
sir.
weak molecular forces.
Exactly, because it has a simple molecular structure जिसके अंदर one molecule and another molecule. They don't have anything to do with each other. So there's another molecule. So in between, the intermolecular forces are very weak. Okay? They don't have any charges, so they're not going to attract each other. So the molecules would be probably in gaseous state. ये इधर घूम रहा होगा. No one would be stopping each other. They won't be attracting each other. So you're going to write, the first line would be that they have a simple molecular structure. And molecules have very weak intermolecular forces, have weak intermolecular. So they have very weak intermolecular forces. So less energy needed to break those intermolecular forces. So just remember that strong bonds are present in covalent molecules as well, and strong bonds are present in ionic bonds as well. But ionic bonds, it's one giant structure. It's every ion bonded to another ion. जबकि molecules के अंदर you have one molecule and it has nothing to do with the other molecule. They just have very weak intermolecular forces. ठीक है? Is that Saad? Siddha, is this clear?
Yes.
Yes.
So this next one, I think it's about the contact process. ठीक है, sulfuric acid की formation है. So the first one is how is sulfur converted into sulfur dioxide? It's burned with oxygen. ठीक है? So you can write an equation, and you can also state that it's burned in oxygen. फिर वो कह रहे describe how sulfur dioxide. Once you get sulfur dioxide, तो उसके बाद second stage was, ठीक है, you have to memorize this entire contact process. The second stage was कि SO3 was formed, and this was a difficult task. इसके लिए the temperature that was required was 450 degrees centigrade. The pressure that was needed was 1 to 3 atmospheres, and there was a catalyst which was V2O5, which was needed as a catalyst. ठीक है? So he's asking for the equation of the reaction and the name of the catalyst and the temperature that is used. ठीक है, we've done that. Then stage 3, as a stage 2 is an equilibrium. I mean, this is an equilibrium. ठीक है? So what is meant by the term equilibrium? What was the definition of equilibrium? Any idea? Anyone? This reaction, if it's in equilibrium, what does that mean? Sidra, Saad, is it? Koi idea? Equilibrium is when the rate of forward reaction equals the rate of backward reaction. यानी जिस speed से SO3 form हो रहा होगा उसी speed से वापस SO3 is getting converted back into SO2. So when the rate of forward reaction equals the rate of backward reaction. Is this clear? In a reversible reaction. Is it clear? Saad clear? Sidra?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
अच्छा, in a reversible reaction. अच्छा, next one is फिर आपने पढ़ा था कि SO3 जब बन जाता है ना तो उसको पानी के अंदर directly you don't add it in water, ठीक है, because the reaction is very very explosive. That is not done. वरना sulfuric acid बन जाएगा आपको. तो what is sulfur trioxide reacted? ये क्या question है? what is sulfur trioxide reacted with? Achha, what is sulfur trioxide reacted with? So SO3 is reacted with, instead it's reacted with concentrated H2SO4. So H2SO4 banane ke liye you actually use H2SO4 and it ends up forming oleum. And I think it's balanced. And last part is that oleum is diluted. So water is then added to oleum. So water is added and it ends up forming 2 molecules of sulfuric acid. So you used 1 molecule of sulfuric acid to, at the end of the day, make 2 molecules of sulfuric acid. Okay? So remember the contact process, okay? The entire process. Okay, the next part is the question states when copper is reacted with hot, there's a gap. You just have to balance this equation. So SO4 is एक ही है, so I mean this is obviously 1. और क्या होगा? I mean I don't know why they gave this equation. It's all, sorry, wrong. S, there are 2 S's. There's an S over here and S over here. The 2 S's, so 2 H2SO4, and therefore they're going to be 4 hydrogens. Oxygen probably balance over 8 oxygens, 4 and 2, that's 6, 6 plus 2, that's 8. As anyways, the reducing agent ka phissa aa gaya. Sulfur dioxide is a reducing agent. Give the color change that occurs when is bubbled through potassium magnate 7. Magnate 7 KMNO4 ka color yaad rakhna, the purple to colorless. Okay, this is an oxidizing agent and this sulfur dioxide is a reducing agent. So ये 2 oxidizing agents हैं KMNO4, purple to colorless. The other one is K2Cr2O7, that's orange to green, potassium dichromate 6. Okay, remember these two. So when sulfuric acid reacts with ammonia, the salt produces, write the chemical equation for this reaction. So H2SO4 reacts with ammonia. और से क्या ammonium sulfate बन रहा है, तो ammonium is +1, SO4 is -2, and it would be, this would be ammonium sulfate. Barium sulfate is an insoluble salt, can be made from aqueous ammonium sulfate using precipitation method. Name a solution that can be added. A precipitation, barium sulfate जो है ना वो insoluble है, solid है. Insoluble salts were always produced using a precipitation method. That was कि you find 2 reactants, which could be anything, except they should be soluble. One should contain barium ions, it should be soluble, and the other one should contain SO4 -2 ions. ठीक है, तो insoluble salts were produced this way. They have to be aqueous. तो उसने एक कंपाउंड तो आपको दे दिया है, which is ammonium sulfate. तो and ammonium की सारी चीजें soluble होती हैं, ठीक है, so that's one compound. तो barium का कोई compound बता दो जो soluble है. Nitrates are all soluble. Remember, nitrates are all soluble. So these would be your 2 compounds. Ionic precipitation में होता क्या था कि you mix 2 soluble substances to get an insoluble substance. मतलब barium nitrate soluble है, तो barium ions or nitrate ions पानी के अंदर they would be floating around. Ammonium ions and sulfate ions would be floating around, and they would be randomly combining with each other. लेकिन if barium and sulfate ions they combine, तो वो insoluble barium sulfate बनाते हैं जो कि नीचे बैठना शुरू हो जाएगा, and you would see a precipitate of barium sulfate that's formed. पीछे solution में क्या रह जाएगा? It's going to be NH4 and NO3. लेकिन NO3 सारी चीजें soluble होती हैं, तो वो पीछे solution के अंदर ही रहेंगे, ठीक है? So इसका answer, is this clear? साथ clear है?
Yes, sir.
Sidra, is this clear?
Yes.
Anyways, they asked you to give the ionic equation for the precipitation reaction. So you have to write the ionic equation, which is K. Aqueous ions are written in dissociated form. So barium ions, write barium ions, nitrate ions separately, This is also aqueous, so write that separately. It's NH4 plus 1 ions and NO3 minus 1 ions. ठीक है. Barium sulfate is a solid, so that would be together. And the other one is also aqueous, so that's NH4 plus 1 and NO3 minus 1, and they are separate. So all the other ions are aqueous, they are dissolved in water. So remove the spectator ion. The spectator ions that you're going to remove the ones that don't undergo any change, NO3 and NH4 plus 1. So you're left with barium 2 plus, which is aqueous, and SO4 minus 2, which is aqueous, and they are combining to form BaSO4, which is a solid. ठीक है. So मैं फिर से a quick recap. Remember that whenever you have an insoluble salt, so it's always produced when you have, well, one of the compounds should produce should give you barium ions, the other one should give you SO4 minus 2 ions, and the condition is both compounds, they must be soluble. ठीक है. Is this question clear? Saad, clear है? Sidra?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, what is meant by the term catalyst? क्या है catalyst? क्या लिखोगे इसमें?
Chemical substances that speed up a reaction.
ठीक है, so it's a chemical substance that speeds up the reaction. और क्या लिखोगे? 2 mark है, speeds up the reaction, that's fine. What else? I mean, there are 2 more things that you could write actually. Any idea? Saad, Sidra, कोई और idea?
Without changing itself.
ठीक है, remains unchanged in the reaction. That's another one. ठीक है, that is what a catalyst is. अगर how लिखा होता ना कि how does a catalyst work, तो it works by lowering the activation energy. वो भी वैसे लिख सकते हैं, लाइनें उसने दी हुई हैं. Lowering EA of a reaction, activation energy of a reaction. What a catalyst does is कि हर reaction में पहले पुराने, you have to break the old bonds. So what it does is कि it makes it much easier to actually break those bonds. क्योंकि if you can't break those bonds, the reaction would be very difficult. It's not going to happen. ठीक है? Which is why it's easier to it's actually difficult to burn a large piece of log क्योंकि it has too many bonds. अगर उसी log को ना break करके you make tiny sticks out of it and you break the old bonds, then it's a lot easier to burn it. ठीक है? So every reaction involves breaking the old bonds first, and that requires energy. So catalyst somehow makes it easier for you to actually break those bonds. Now here's a reaction that's going on, and there's he's saying a student measures the volume of oxygen gas produced. तो उसने कहा कि we don't know what's happening, but he's saying that in the reaction there's oxygen gas that's being produced, and he's collecting the volume of oxygen at regular time intervals, and large lumps of magnesium oxide are used. A graph of the result is shown. So start के अंदर oxygen gas is, I mean, the steeper the graph, the faster the reaction. So right in the beginning, the graph is really steep. So that means that the volume of oxygen is being produced at a very fast rate. ठीक है? Remember, gradient of any change that's plotted, that's your rate of reaction. So over here, gradient ज़्यादा है, so that's fast. Over here, it's slow. Okay, over here, it's actually stopped. I mean, there's no more oxygen gas being produced. So what happens to the rate of this reaction as the time increases? In your answer, explain why the rate changes in this way. First one, and it's a pretty long answer. First thing, पहले तो rate को लिख लो. Rate is fast in the beginning. And because you have so many lines, how did you figure out that it's fast in the beginning? As the gradient is steep. And then rate slows down. ठीक है, so slowly the rate slows down, goes to 0 as gradient goes to 0. And reaction stops. Next is, why does the rate change in this way? क्या reason होगी? Saad, any idea, Sidra? Is it? Sidra, any idea why the rate of the reaction is? All reactions behave in this way. They're fast at the beginning. Like you open a bottle of Pepsi. So lots of bubbles right at the beginning. Then they slow down. Why do reactions? Is that good idea?
The reactants get used up.
Okay, so at the start, so initially, reactant concentration is high because you have more reactants. So more collisions, faster reaction. Later on, reactants get used up. That's it. Okay? Every reaction, at the end of the day, the reactants, they get used up. Next one is the experiment is repeated using the same mass of manganese 4 oxide. Powdered manganese 4 oxide is used instead. So instead of large lumps, he's now using powdered. What would happen to the rate? He's asking you to sketch the graph and to show. So what's powdered use करोगे? What would happen? Would the reaction be faster or slower? साथ क्या होगा? Faster होगा, ठीक है. So the graph would be more steep. End में oxygen gas उतनी ही बनेगी. लेकिन it's going to take lesser time, so it's going to be much steeper. ठीक है? So remember the graph would become steeper. That's it. तो उसे sketch करने को कहा था. And in terms of particle, explain what happens to when the temperature is increased. तो क्या what would you write? पहले तो लिखोगे rate increases. Why does it increase? When temperature increases, what would you write? साथ क्या लिखोगे? Yeah, anyone else? Sidra, is it? What happens? Why does temperature? Sidra, any idea what happens when temperature is increased?
Particles gain more kinetic energy and they start to move and collide faster.
ठीक है, so particles gain kinetic energy, and the other points are going to be that first thing, they're going to travel faster, so they're going to be more. They're going to bump into each other more, so you're going to get more frequent. You're going to get more frequent collisions, and also more effective collisions or successful collisions, because they're going to bump into each other with more force as well. So you're going to get more successful, more frequent, and more successful collisions. Next is the equation for the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide is given. So ये मैं question भेज रहा हूँ, ठीक है, the one on your screen. Try and this one. Try and solve this and send it right now. किधर है आप लोगों का? MSC group. Just one second, let me check. Start doing this question. Which group did I send it to? It is right group. So the moles of oxygen, it's 48 cm cube. That came out to be 48 divided by, it should be 24,000. Either you convert them to dm cube or cm cube. So how many moles did you get?
0.002.
Okay, so you got 0.00. How many zeros? 2 zeros, right?
Yeah.
And based on that, the moles of H2O2 should be double that, 0.00. Because it's 1:2. One oxygen molecule is produced by two H2O2 molecules. So you found the second part as well. And the last part is you find the concentration. Concentration is moles over volume. So it would be 0.004. And what's the volume of hydrogen peroxide? It's 25 cm cube. In dm cube, it would be 0.025. So what did you get?
16.
How much? 0.16? Moles is concentration times volume. Yeah, 0.16 मोल per dm cube. ठीक है, that's fine. बाकी मुझे जल्दी से सेंड कर दें, ठीक है? चलिए ठीक है, we'll continue with this in the next class then, ठीक है? Okay, take care.
Yeah.
Allah Hafiz.